And we're back once again. We're at chapter 2. David finally gets to become a king of sorts. And it came to pass after this, David inquired of the Lord, saying, Shall I go up into any of the cities of Judah? And the Lord said unto him, Go up. And David said, Where shall I go up? And he said, Unto Hebron. Notes, now there is a marked spiritual turn in David's life from this point of Ziklag and onward. The Ziklags are terrible to the flesh, but they're actually very invigorating to the spirit. It's never a pleasant experience to have your Ziklags out there, if you know what I mean. You see, now David is seeking the Lord and receiving directions from the Lord now. Verse 2. So David went up thither, and his 2 wives also, Ahinoam the Jezreelitess, and Abigail, Nabal's wife, the Carmelite. Notes. Please keep in mind that God does not approve of such behavior, and thus we see more of David's imperfections, and we will continue to see more of David's faults. Verse 3. And his men who were with him did David bring up, every man with his household, and they dwelt in the cities of Hebron. And the men of Judah came, and there they anointed David king over the whole house of Judah. And they told David, saying that the men of Jabesh-Gilead were they who buried Saul. Notes. And so begins the very golden age of Israel, and yet for 7.5 years only a small part of the church of that day would accept God's anointed. See, they were very, very quick to put Saul on the throne, but David had to fight tooth and nail just to get something right here. That's ridiculous. Verse 5. And David sent messengers unto the men of Jabesh-Gilead, and said unto them, Blessed are you of the Lord, that you have showed this kindness unto your Lord, even unto Saul, and have buried him. And now the Lord show kindness and truth unto you, and I also will requite you this kindness, because you have done this thing. Therefore now let your hands be strengthened, and be valiant. For your master Saul is dead, and also the house of Judah have anointed me king over them. Notes. Now, as we shall see, active opposition to Christ and his kingdom quickly follows upon the establishment of a rival kingdom in the heart. Okay, Abner, who we're fixing to read about, having set up his own king, very quickly took the further step of attacking God's king and God's kingdom. Watch this in verse 8. But Abner, the son of Ner, captain of Saul's host, took Ishbosheth, the son of Saul, and brought him over to Mahanaim, and made him king over Gilead, and over the Asherites, and over Jezreel, and over Ephraim, and over Benjamin, and over all Israel. Notes. Now, more than likely, David's consorting for the past 16 months with the Philistines probably caused some problems. You see, many of the Israelites seem to have distrusted him, giving Abner room to do what he did. Now, irrespective of that, it was not God's will for someone else to be king of Israel, as should be overwhelmingly obvious by now. It was supposed to be David right from the very start. But men shall have their ways, and they shall be destroyed for it. Verse 10. Ishbosheth, Saul's son, was 40 years old when he began to reign over Israel, and reigned 2 years. But the house of Judah followed David. And the time that David was king in Hebron over the house of Judah was 7 years and 6 months. And Abner, the son of Ner, and the servants of Ishbosheth, the son of Saul, went out from Mahanaim to Gibeon. Notes. Now, David had taken no steps to obtain for himself the kingdom over all Israel. Therefore, this opened the door for Abner to win Judah as well. Continuing. And Joab, the son of Zeruiah, and the servants of David went out and met together by the pool of Gibeon, and they sat down, the one on the one side of the pool, and the other on the other side of the pool. Notes. Now, all of this right here pictures the house of Saul and the house of David. They stand in opposition one to the other completely. The one pictures the life as governed by self, and the other the life as governed by God. The latter life only, it alone secures victory as long as you're with God. The flesh will always fail. Verse 14. And Abner said to Joab, Let the young men now arise and play before us. And Joab said, Let them arise. Notes. Now, the statement is grim enough, though intended to gloss over the cruel reality. We're fixing to read about this man by the name of Joab. He's going to turn out to be a very major problem. Verse 15. Then there arose and went over by number 12 of Benjamin, which pertained to Ishbosheth the son of Saul, and 12 of the servants of David. Notes. On each side, 12 of the most skillful champions were to be selected, who were to fight in stern earnest with one another, while the rest gazed upon this fierce spectacle. It is by no means certain that Abner meant that this single combat should decide the war, but the conclusion was to give indication. Notes. And they who were the men of Joab caught every one his fellow by the head, who were the men of Abner, by the way, and thrust his sword in his fellow's side, so they fell down together. Wherefore that place was called Helkath Hazarim, which is in Gibeon. And there was a very sore battle that day, and Abner was beaten, and the men of Israel before the servants of David. Notes. The battle followed the contest with only 19 of David's warriors falling, while Abner lost 360 and he was forced to flee. Now watch what Abner's response is. Verse 18. And there were 3 sons of Zeruiah there, Joab, Abishai, and Asahel. And Asahel was as light of foot as a wild deer. And Asahel pursued after Abner, and going he turned not to the right hand nor to the left from following Abner. Notes. The sharp swords which mutually destroyed the young men should have been used against the Philistines, not against each other. The destructive energy which rival groups within the church employ against each other would accomplish great things if they were used otherwise. Verse 20. Then Abner looked behind him and said, Are you Asahel? And he answered, I am. And Abner said to him, Turn thee aside to your right hand or to your left, and lay thee hold on one of the young men, and take thee his armor. But Asahel would not turn aside from following him. And Abner said again to Asahel, Turn thee aside from following me. Wherefore should I smite you to the ground? How then should I hold up my face to Joab your brother? Howbeit he refused to turn aside, wherefore Abner with the hinder end of the spear smote him under the 5th rib, that the spear came out behind him. And he fell down there and died in the same place. And it came to pass that as many as came to the place where Asahel fell down and died stood still. Notes. In other words, the violent blow was so devastating that Asahel dropped down dead without any kind of a struggle. Verse 24. Joab also and Abishai pursued after Abner, and the sun went down when they were come to the hill of Ammah, that lieth before Giah by the way of the wilderness of Gibeon. Notes. The sight of their slaughter both made them only the more determined in the pursuit. Okay, what they saw go on was just really kind of ticking them off. Verse 25, and I'll finish up. And the children of Benjamin gathered themselves together after Abner, and became one troop, and stood on the top of an hill. And we'll go ahead and pick up in 2 Samuel chapter 2, verse 26. Thank you, and God bless.